grab your tissues. We are going to be crying today. Not because we're sad. We're working with a lot of onions today. So my Azure Standard haul, you had seen I purchased a 40-pound box of onions. And it was pretty much full here to the top. And you can see, maybe, we've worked through several of them through just, you know, cooking, fresh eating. I've done a lot of recipes with my preserving, and I've gone and used onions from here. So we don't have a full 40 pounds, but I am going to go and weigh out how much I have. And then we will be using my handy dandy food processor so that I can get them diced. We're going to vacuum seal them in, I believe, 1 pound portion sizes. I will see what that looks like, but I will essentially weigh it out so that way I can do an apples to apple comparison of when I purchase from the store my diced onions that have been frozen. You probably hear some pitter pattering. My dog Sadie can't decide what she wants to do. She's back and forth, back and forth. So I apologize. I know her nails come out pretty loudly over the camera. So we're going to do an apples to apple comparison to see if I'm purchasing it from the store in the freezer section. The diced bags I will verify, but I'm pretty sure it's 16 ounces. Maybe, I don't know actually. I could just really be making that up. So I will also do all of that research before I come back, and we'll sort of walk through how I'm going to preserve these. We'll discuss why I use them, why I do this every single year. It's never enough, it hardly ever is. I mean, I'd probably need a whole freezer dedicated to just my onions. We use them in everything. It provides such good flavor, and I'm so happy that I don't have anyone in my family who complains when I put the small diced onions in things. Now, if you did like the half moons and you have sort of those stringy type of onions and things, I've got some picky eaters who kind of complain about that. But the small diced ones, they hardly ever know. They don't know any difference. So I will definitely be doing a lot of that, and we'll see how long does it last me. What's the cost comparison? Is it better to do it this way? Am I saving a few pennies? Am I actually spending more money and now wasting my time to do it? I don't know. We're gonna see. I've honestly never done the comparison before. So we'll see. But first things first, I'm gonna get these weighed out, get them prepped and ready to go into the food dicer, and we'll go from there. What do you need? Sit. Sit. Good girl. Paw. Oh, good girl.
Yes. Oh, yes. We've got such good girls. Yes, we do.
Okay, I started off with 31 pounds of onions. I took all the skins off, did everything I needed to. I had 1 onion I did not use, and I put it in this real big stock pot, weighed it. It is 28.5 exactly. However, this stock pot weighs a lot. So once I empty this, I will weigh the pot empty, do the math, and then that will tell me how many pounds of onions I am working with, and then we'll get them bagged up. Okay, now that we're all done and onion is just permeating through the air, but you know what? I love onions and I love the smell of onions, so it doesn't bother me. but my eyes are definitely a little irritated between just having to chop off each side of the onions, peel them, and quarter them. Whew, that was enough to get my eyes going. But here's one of the things that I love about doing this. I had to do that all one time today. So when I'm tired and I'm coming in from work, or maybe it was just a busy weekend and you're coming in from a fun day and you gotta get dinner together, sometimes you just don't want to have to chop an onion. Can we just raise a hand in solidarity that we just don't want to chop the onion? So when I first seen at the grocery store that there was frozen diced onions, I feel like my world changed. And I had one of those moments that I find myself often having, thinking, why didn't I think of that? So I'm like, oh, what a lifesaver that is. And then I started, I was purchasing all of those. And then finally one day, as I built up my skill set in the kitchen and was doing things preserving wise, I thought to myself, why don't I just do this? It's probably cheaper. And I'll be honest, I never did do the cost configuration. I just always assumed if I'm doing it myself, it's probably cheaper. Well, I've also grown a little bit since that, and I kind of just now know that that is also not always the case. So I started off with 31 pounds of whole onions from 40 pounds that I purchased, of course. But I started off with 31 pounds. I then decided to weigh out how did I do this? Oh, I chopped everything. Like, what did I just do? So I peeled them, quartered them, put them in the pot, and then I had 28.5 pounds. Now, I knew my pot weighed a good couple of pounds for sure, 4, 5, 6 pounds, I wasn't sure. So I diced all of these, weighed my pot, which is, I'm still pointing over where the mixer is, and my pot is pretty much 6 pounds. It was like 5 pounds, 15 ounces, and some change. And so I'm like, you know what, we'll just call it good, even 6 pounds. So in my big mama bowl over here, I have 22.5 pounds. So I'm now going to weigh out 10 ounces. And I'm going to see what 1 cup weighs first. Very loosely here, this isn't going to be like an absolute scientific process here. So 5.4 ounces. So if I do roughly 2 cups, that got me 10.2 ounces. I'm gonna call that good. So this way I know every single bag I'm going to put 2 cups of my diced onions in. We will see at the end how many diced onions, how many bags that I get. Now, I can tell you, I generally, in the past, have used vacuum seal bags for this process. Couple of things. One, I don't feel like getting all of that out. I don't feel like cutting the bags. I don't feel like going through the process. This is a very wet ordeal. I'd have to use the wet method. I do not have the best vacuum sealer. It's actually something that I've been doing a lot of research on. So if you have a vacuum sealer that you like, please let me know what the brand is. It's one of the last appliances, small kitchen appliances that I have that I really do kind of need to upgrade. It does the job, it really does, and I use it a lot. I actually have to go and see what the brand is, because I started out with a a vacuum sealer that I got from Aldi many years ago. And I used that for the longest time. It did the job. It did the job. That's all I needed it to do. I knew it wasn't the best, but it did the job for me. At the time, I was really only preserving things in my freezer for probably 3 to 6 months. I didn't need things to last much beyond that. Then I went ahead and upgraded not long ago, but I only upgraded just a little, and I did that just because it finally broke. You know, that Aldi that I'm sure didn't spend more than maybe 20 bucks on 15 years ago. You know, it was probably like $21.99, $24.99, I'm not sure, but like 15 years ago I bought it, and it lasted me a very long time. Calm Dew, that's what I'm using now. It really does work fantastic. I've been doing quite a bit of research though, because I know I definitely need to upgrade. So I'm looking at actual food processors, not food, why do I keep saying food processors? Stop it. We're not talking about that right now, Angie. I'm looking at, what is that major brand that I'm thinking of? It's food something, isn't it? I don't know. I'm battling something. I'm not feeling my best today. I'm not sick, but I am very much run down. I have an autoimmune disease that really can get to me at times, and fatigue is definitely one of the biggest things I battle. And I'll one day get into that a little bit more, because it definitely goes into why I do everything that I do and how it really helps me with my days that I'm battling fatigue or illness or whatever. And today is definitely one of those days. So I probably have a little bit of brain fog on top of it, but any event, long story short, I am going to be upgrading it, and I've looked at quite a few, some very big, mega, high-end that I've actually been saving for, and I just can't pull the trigger on it. I have a hard time pulling the trigger on certain things, especially when they're expensive. It took my husband had to convince me to get the freeze dryer. I had saved up for almost a year for it, and I still wasn't completely convinced that I should purchase it. And he's just like, just do it. Just do it. You will use it. You will get use out of it. Just do it. And I'm glad I did. But, you know, how high-end of a vacuum sealer does one need? I don't know. Plus, I'm kind of glad I didn't jump right into it, because as I've stated before, my family dynamic has changed, and I'm not really doing quite as much, and I know in the very near future I won't be doing as much, you know, and at least the way I think I'm planning out my life. Lord knows he might have a different direction for me, so we will see. But yeah, so let me know which vacuum sealer you do. Food Saver. Ha! It's Food Saver brand. Isn't that it? I'll have to double check. Food Saver. I think that's what it is. So, anyway, let me know. I just decided I had purchased these quart bags from Amazon. I'll put the link down below. There are oh gosh, I may have 200. Looks like there are 200 in here. So freezer bags, double zipper, 200 from Amazon. I purchased them because I knew at the time whatever I was doing, especially I was needing a lot, and I needed something not really name brand. I wanted something a little bit more budget friendly for everything I was doing. Plus my daughter-in-law was preparing her freezer for postpartum meals, and so I gifted her a ton of those as well. And so I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna use these. I'm not gonna deal with the Food Saver, the Calm Dew, because when things are wet, it does not work very well. Even if I hit the moist button, I tend to just get frustrated and have to redo things, and it is just not something that I necessarily need to worry about preserving for a very long time. And so the cost isn't worth putting them in an expensive vacuum sealed bag. So that's what I'm doing. Now I will say, if you had the space, if I had the space, I've got a lot of stuff in trays waiting on me to rotate through my freeze dryer, but I actually would put these on a very thin sheet and just stack layer between parchment paper. This is something that if you did need to do long term and put in freezer bags, I would recommend flash freezing first, because then you don't have to worry about the moisture when you're trying to vacuum seal. I do that with as many things as possible because it frustrates me to no end trying to vacuum seal things that are high in moisture. So if I am putting meat in a thing, like back when I was buying chicken and I needed to separate them, I would actually purchase the fresh chicken, I would portion them out onto trays, or even just put them in the bags and just keep them open, freeze them for an hour or two, and then come and vacuum seal, and I did not have to worry about the moisture in it. So that's kind of a trick you could do as well, one of my tips. I'm going to do, as I pulled up before, the cost of the Walmart bags, the 10-ounce Walmart bag, because I think Walmart tends to be one of those most people will use, because like I said, they tend to be a store that's rather local. So $1.46 for 10 ounces of diced onions. That's expensive, actually. I can promise you when I buy these, they're probably on a 10 for 10 sale at Meijer. I would not spend $1.46 on a bag of diced onions, no matter how tired I was. So that is a little bit more expensive. So I will do another research at Meijer just to see what the cost is, and I'll do the math with both. So this way I'm kind of doing what is more of a worldwide opportunity for people at Walmart, give you the cost. And then I'm gonna do my more local, which is not actually local, it's like 35, 40 minutes away from me, Meijer, but I will do that cost as well, just so we can be a little bit more scientific in our approach, I suppose. So how am I going to use these? Basically, I'm going to use them to saute. That's my oven. I've got fresh bread for the week baking in my oven, my sandwich bread. So I'm going to pull these straight from the freezer. I will not defrost them. They go straight from the freezer into my heated pan with butter, oil, whatever, bacon grease, whatever it is I'm doing, and I will saute them up. I don't hardly ever put raw onions in anything that then will be cooked. I usually always start by sauteing it, even with my meatloafs and stuff and such. So if I need fresh onions for salads or chicken salad or whatever the case might be, I will always have a few fresh onions on hand. Every time I go to Sam's Club, I will purchase a bag of onions, and that generally lasts us enough time before I have to go to my next trip, and we'll use those the way you need to use fresh onions. Don't they look great? Never gets old. It never gets old to have fresh bread. The aroma in the house, to eat fresh bread every couple of days, just, it never gets old. Never gets old. It's much cheaper to make it ourselves. It's much healthier for us to go back and look at. I have my sandwich bread video. I have the recipe up. Go ahead and take a look at that, especially if you're new, at bread baking. It's honestly much easier than I think some people think it to be. We tend to work things up a bit more in our head. And once you do it, you realize, I'm going to be doing a video too on how you will never have a failed bread, ever. It may not come out the way you want it to. You may look at it and go, ooh, what went wrong? But there's so much you can do with it. You will never have a failed batch of bread. There's always something you can do with it. So, it would definitely be worth it to try. And just like anything, you have to do it a few times to really get, good at anything, right? So, but back to onions. That's what this video is about. So I will do the cost comparison at Meijer. I don't believe, I don't know that I've ever seen diced onions at Aldi, otherwise I would do the comparison to that. If you do have diced onions at your Aldi, let me know. We'll see how much it is, but I want to say, honest to goodness, it's going back in my memory banks here, the last time I purchased freezer onions like this, I think it was 97 cents a bag. So, and I don't stack up on them, but I sometimes will when I'm at Meijer. Sometimes I will grab just a couple bags to hold me over, kind of a thing, just so I have it to fall back on when I don't have mine. And there are days where I just force myself to use the fresh onions, just because I want to keep the frozen reserved for days where I know I just really, really need something quick, easy, convenient. And I want to say the last time I purchased them, I don't know that they were 97 cents anymore, but they certainly were not $1.46. So now that's the online price. You know how sometimes when you go into the store, sometimes things can be like a few cents cheaper. But either way, it's kind of pricey in my opinion. So I'm more happy to show everybody this little hack if you don't know about it. Got quite a few already. Now what you could do, because I know, and I want to, and I am gonna, I am saying this respectfully, I know I'm going to get comments about how I'm wasting bags. I do, I get it. I have gallon bags that are reusable, that I put my sliced peppers in after I flash freeze them, and I use them for many other things. But when something is strong in odor, it's kind of wet like this is, I don't care how many times I clean and wash that bag, it's still going to hold that odor. And I don't like that. So that's one reason for this particular scenario that I'm not doing that. The other reason is I have these here to use, so I'm going to use them. You could put these in gallon size bags. I could absolutely reduce the number of bags that I need to use by putting, well, I could certainly be filling this up too, but when it came time then to use my onions, I could just sort of break apart what I need. I've done that in the past. But for the sake of trying to figure out what I'm figuring out today, I'm gonna do this. So I feel like I reduce my footprint, so to speak, in many other ways in my house and in my kitchen. That occasionally doing something like this is okay. It really is. And if it is something that is very concerning for you, that's okay too. You do it differently in your kitchen then. And share with me, you know, maybe there is a different method that I don't know about. And I'm always happy to hear suggestions and tips and tricks. I love that. It's absolutely, absolutely welcome. Okay. That one's a little heavy-handed, but it's mostly, I think, because of the juice, so we'll still call that 10 ounces. Why not? $32, $33, $34, $35, $36, $37, $38, $39. That's so frustrating. I wanted it to just be an even number. Why couldn't it have been 40? Maybe I should do my like really large one. Consider that 2. I don't even know where it is. Okay, so 39 bags. All right, let's see if we can make this make sense together, okay? Because I am no mathematician. Despite what I do all day at my job, working with money and numbers. All right, let's see. We have 39 bags that we measured out as best as possible, very loosely, roughly 10 ounces. From Walmart, a 10-ounce bag is $1.46. Times that by the 39 bags we have here, we would spend $56.94 at Walmart, stocking our freezer with just the convenience of having onions already diced for us. If I went to Meijer, the math is a little different. I'm not going to try to break it down to the ounce. Let's just play a little pretend here. 39 bags for $1.59 from Meijer, but you do get 12 ounces. Keep that in mind. But if we're just doing the math as is, that would be $62.01. So 10 cents, roughly 13 cents more, but you're getting 2 more ounces per bag. So it's still, I think, a little bit more expensive. Azure, I purchased 40 pounds of onions and spent $52.50 on the 40-pound box. So that is still cheaper than purchasing and stocking up just the bags of onions. So that means I could buy my box of onions and obviously still have leftover onions after I stocked my freezer for cheaper than what it would be to go to Walmart and just stock up. If I purchased 20 pounds of onions, closer to what I actually preserved here, which was 22 and a half, 20 pounds from Azure, my onions cost me $35.90. So going off of the Walmart purchase, if I went to Walmart and just stocked my pantry with it all done for me, I would spend $56.94 compared to the $35.90 to buy the onions whole. I saved $21.04. So hear me when I tell you, during a time where groceries are at a cost that I'm gonna be 39 here, blink my eye, very much around the corner, I'll be 39. I've been grocery shopping for my family of 2, 3, and then now of course many. But I first started pretty much grocery shopping for my own family about 17 years ago. My daughter will be 18 in like 3 weeks, and she was almost 1 when her dad and all of us moved out on our own, and I was grocery shopping on my own from then on out. So I've not seen prices the way they are in 17 years, and I know many who are older than I and have had their own families and budgeted and had to go and do the grocery shopping. I know we've not seen prices like what we have in a long time. I'm very surprised that the cost of those onions are what they are, because I feel like it was only 3-4 months ago, the last time I was at Meijer it was in May, because I had to go and get a couple of things for my husband's birthday party. And I think that's when I just was like, I'm gonna go and grab just a couple. And I don't remember what I could look up my receipt probably, but it wasn't that much, and perhaps they had a sale, and that's quite possible too. But I don't know that it's worth that anymore. And you do have to consider your time, but that's where you have to decide, you know what? I don't have anything going on Thursday night. Let's get the kids around the table, and maybe you and your husband, or you and your spouse, you and your wife can go and do all of the difficult work, of course, with the knives and the chopping and all of the fragrance that will bother your eyes. But then have your kids scooping into bags. Make it a family project. And then my hour by myself to work through 22.5 pounds of onions does not have to be that long for you and your family to do it. And think of what it's saving you. $20 can get you a little bit more meat put away in the freezer for your family if need be. And of course, you don't have to go to the extent that I go through, but I tend to do things on a scale of, my mentality typically is, cook once, eat twice type of a mentality. If I'm standing here in my kitchen doing something, how can I double it, triple it, quadruple it? Can I put it away in the freezer? Can I preserve it in some way that I won't have to come back in 2 days, next week, next month to do the same thing all over again? So my mentality is always, how can I do it one time but eat off of it several times? And that's why I tend to do big batches like this. This is generally a good size for whatever I'm cooking in my kitchen for my current family size, my immediate family that lives in my home day to day. When I've got the whole crew coming, if I feel like I need to resort to using these and not fresh, I will use 2 to 3 depending on what I'm cooking. So this will last me for quite a while, because I do try to force myself to use fresh when I have it, and really only rely on this for like busy, crazy days. I'm tired, whatever the case may be. I quite frankly, I can go through it as quickly as I want to. I just won't have the benefit, of course, of having it there, for me. So, but yeah, so I hope you find this useful. I'm actually surprised by the numbers that I found. Let me know what the cost is where you're at. Let me know the state that you live, and tell me how much are diced frozen onions and what store that you shop at too. So we can kind of see around the world. I'm in Ohio. I don't feel we are in one of the states where we really have a big influx in inflation prices. I know it tends to be more Western, sometimes even further south you get. From just what I've been gathering with what I see food prices to be with other people who share the cost. I don't know that we're also the lowest. I think maybe it's one of the Carolinas, I think still hold some of the lowest costs of inflation so far. But that, I heard that probably 6 months ago, so that could have changed. So let me know what you think of this and my findings. I hope I made it as apples to apples of a comparison as possible. I will say the only difference here is this kind of, and this isn't something that I really hold a lot of stock in. The onions I got from Azure are organic, and I know some of the grocery stores I shop at, I can't find organic diced frozen onions. So if that's something that's really important to you, that definitely could also be part of the savings, because if you found organic diced onions in the supermarket frozen for you, $1.46 from Walmart, $1.59 from Meijer, it probably would be more than that even. We just know that, you know, organic, unfortunately, that label tends to cost more. There's good reason for it. I don't necessarily disagree with it, but it is unfortunate. So let that be what it be for you. And I'm gonna get these into the freezer. I have a freezer chest and I'm gonna put it in just like this. I'll put this one on top so that they can freeze completely flat, and then I can stack them in my bottom bin in my stand-up freezer in the back where I keep all of my frozen veggies. So I'll see you next time I'm in this kitchen cooking up something good or preserving something. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. I thank everybody for just contributing to the conversations down below. I thank you for subscribing and helping my channel to grow, and I really look forward to everything that we might do with each other in the future.